Hey guys, Jerry Miculek here. We're going to talk about revolvers and hunting revolvers and my experience with what you see on the table here. So hang on, let's take a look. Come on up close. Let's look at some guns here. 357 Magnum, when it came out, guys were using it on big game. 44 Magnum, of course, came out in the 60s. Elmer Keith was the driver behind the 44 Mag. 454 Casull, all that came out about the 70s. And the race for big really started happening with Smith & Wesson about 15, 18 years ago when they came out with the X-frame revolvers, which are the 460s and the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. So I put revolvers in a couple of categories. One would be a primary hunting gun that I would have in my hands the whole time, and the other one would be a handgun that I could actually put in a holster and feel comfortable carrying. So the weight to horsepower ratio is what I think about when I think about hunting handguns, so especially revolvers. So if you come here and take a look, 357 Magnum Model 66s, the new 66s, guys, are super strong. You can put the heaviest 357 Magnum loads in. It's a K-frame. It's relatively compact, and I got a little cheat sheet here. This thing weighs 36.9 ounce, which is like 2.3 pounds. So relatively compact. 357 Magnum. I have it quadruported. And what else I did? This is something I want to show you as you get older. If I had this on my hip and I say I have to shoot relatively quick in bad lighting conditions, I'm 70 years old. So if I don't have time to put my shooting correction lens in, these high-vis sights, I can still make a relatively good shot with my regular prescription glasses out to about 30, 40 yards should I need to. And if you see what I'm looking at here, that feature alone makes it a really compact, high-performance hunting backup gun. I call this a backup gun, maybe not a primary. And this is another one. This is a in-frame 357 Magnum I was playing with, titanium cylinder. And what's really surprising about this combination, I was able to shoot through 5 feet of ballistic gelatin with a 180 grain cast bullet. So a lot of penetration, 357 Magnum. A lot of guys think it's not up to par, but 5 feet of penetration might change your mind on that. This gun weighs 2.75 pounds, as you see it with the optic. So it's still something you can put into a holster. This is a holster I've been carrying. I brought it hunting last year. Didn't have a chance to use it on what I wanted, and I passed up a few shots. But anyway, you can put it in a holster. It's still what I call a carry gun for a hunting gun. And then going down the line, and this is one. This came out years ago. It's an all scandium titanium Smith & Wesson N-frame 357 Magnum 8-shot. And the beauty of this thing, empty, it weighs 1.75 pounds. So it's the ultimate lightweight, high capacity 357 Magnum. And what you want to see, what you want to realize, all these guns that you see on the table, they're drilled and tapped for optics. You can put a red dot or a scope on it, whatever you want. So all the modern guns have that feature, they're drilled and tapped. And coming up this way, we have a Model 69. It's an L frame. It's all stainless. It's a very durable 44 mag 5-shot revolver. If you look at it compared to a K frame, which is a very carryable, is that a word? Easy to carry revolver. If you look at the size comparison, an L frame is just a little step up, extremely durable. And what they did, a lot of folks don't realize the enhancements they did on the 69 to make it compatible with the 44 mag cartridge. There's a totally different yoke assembly in it, and they were able to put a really full size barrel extension into the frame. And that's where the small guns always lacked, with the durability of that barrel coming into the forcing cone close to the cylinder. The old K frames were very fragile there, had a tendency to crack. So when they redesigned the frame, yoke, cylinder, and barrel, the smaller guns now are extremely durable, just the same as you would an N frame. So the Model 60, matter of fact, I took a spike with this a couple of years ago, and it worked out really good. So that's 44. And going into the N frame, Model 629. This is one I've had for quite some time. It's a DX model. So what Smith & Wesson did back in the day, they targeted their Model 69s, and the ones that shot 1.5 inches at 50 yards, were marked DX, and this is one of them. I've actually shot some really amazing groups at 100 yards with this one. And probably, well, let's talk about the weight a little bit. 3 pounds, as you see it, with an optic. So very controllable. It's still something you can put into a holster and carry on your belt should you want to. It's right at that breakover point that I would consider a backup or something you could actually put in a holster. And probably the ultimate horsepower to weight ratio revolver ever made is the 329. All scandium, titanium. This is a beast. It weighs 1.6 pounds, guys. 44 mag. I put the X-frame grips on it. Really helps out with the recoil. They have a little silver-stained filler in the back. There again, the high-vis sights. I look at this gun as something you can put into a holster. And this is when you pull this, things are really going bad. So I want to see as much as I can, and the high-vis sights allow me to shoot it well without corrective lens at close range. So 44 mag, 1.75 pounds. What can you say, guys? This is ultimate horsepower to weight ratio. So when you get into the X frames, the 460s and the 500s, they get to be heavy really quick. So I call that a primary gun, something I would carry in my hands all the time and hardly ever put it into a holster unless you had a big shoulder holster. X-frame 4-inch 500 Magnum. What can I say, guys? This, if you look at the ballistics on it, it's basically the same ballistics out of this 4-inch as you would have out of a 3.5-inch Magnum 12-gauge slug. And it's all in your hand. Probably 4 times the energy of a 44 mag. When you look at the ammunition, you can go up to a 500. There's even 700 grain loads available for it. It's just everything you could want to do with the revolver in a small package. A lot of horsepower. A few years back, I took a lot of alligators with it. I had a good friend of mine had tags. We got 23 alligators in 3 days, and the 500 kind of solved that problem really quick. Another X-frame 500 Magnum. This is the full-size gun. Now these guns are getting heavy. So this gun weighs 1.5 pounds. And you say, well, that's a lot of weight, and it is. But you sure do appreciate the weight if you're shooting a 500 grain bullet at 1,700 feet a second. So accurate. You can get scope mounts, of course, put it right on the frame. This one has a red dot on it. It solves just about any problem that I can imagine. It's probably what I think the best X-frame revolver for its usability and flexibility is the 460. And this is a performance center gun. And it has a 10-inch barrel. And that really takes advantage of the cartridge itself. One of these primary loads for this is a 200 flex tip at 2,200 feet a second. But you can also shoot different. You can shoot 40, 45 Colt, 454 pistols in it. The cartridge itself shoots extremely flat. I had taken a barrel hog, I think, at 260 yards with this revolver. One shot, he didn't like it at all. It's a very flexible cartridge, extremely powerful, flat shooting. If I wanted to have one handgun to hunt with and have a primary, what I call primary, it would be this. Also has a sling swivel in the front. Give you an idea how heavy it is. It weighs 6 pounds. Well, and you really appreciate the weight when you shoot it. So there you have it, guys. Just a brief overlook on revolvers and hunting calibers. Kind of get an idea of what we have here. This is a heavy loaded 38 special with a 230 grain bullet. Standard 158 357 Magnum, a 300 grain Hornady XTP, a 460 with a 200 grain bullet, and a Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum with a 500 grain Hornady round. So if bigger is better, of course the 500 beats them all, but yeah, it's a lot of gun. Anyway, 460 I think would be the pick. 44 mag solves a lot of problems. Father-in-law told me when 44 came out, Jim Clark started hunting in Texas, shooting deer. He shot 16 deer, 16 shots, and like I say, he was a better shooter than I. But let's go out on the range and shoot some groups with these different revolvers and show you the striking energy compared to one another. All right, I got my trusty test medium down there. It's about a 7-pound can of white hominy. I've got a 460. This is the Hornady 200 grain FTX round. They claim 2200, and probably out of that 10-inch barrel is coming really close. Probably the best choice of a bullet for thin skin game. I've seen it work on deer and hogs, and I want to show you the hydrostatic shock effect of a high velocity bullet out of a handgun. And let's go ahead and shoot that can and see what that looks like. All right, here we go. I got some, brother. Woo! Let me clear this thing out. All right, we're clear, empty chamber. So, great things start happening at that velocity. You can see we're about, what, 15 yards from it? We've got pieces of hominy all the way back to the wall here. Let's go forward. This is what I want to show you, what hydrostatic shock means. You can see by the 2x4, it broke that 2x4. You can see the can itself. That's how much hydraulic shock effect it has when it impacts at close range. And you can tell by the dispersion here, we've got it all the way on that berm, white hominy, and we got it all the way back this way. If it comes down this way, you can see the can didn't like it at all. We got pieces of, let's see how far it went. We got some over here. We got some over here, over here. Got some over here. Well, if you look, look back this way, guys. We're about 28 yards from point of impact, and there's still some white hominy. That's what happens with high velocity and the right bullet. Let's shoot a 44. Okay, guys, we got a 44 mag, 6.5 inch 629 DX, and what I have for ammunition, of course, a Hornady round, 225 flex tip. I had a chance to take a big spike with that 4-inch revolver a couple of years ago. It did a really good job. It didn't go but about maybe 30 yards. So, what you want to realize, that 460 was doing 2200, and this is a little bit heavier bullet, but it's doing 1400. So, a good 600 feet a second difference, or 800 feet a second difference. So we're going to try it out. Same test medium, and let's see what happens. Here we go. I gotta laugh, guys. This is cool. All right, we're empty. All right, let's go take a look. You know, I'm really impressed with what I just saw right here. Of course, the can didn't fly apart nearly as much, but it still had a lot of hydraulic effect. Still broke the 2x4. So that flex tip bullet managed to open up pretty good inside that can and dissipate a lot of energy. So I know what you're thinking. 357. Let's try it. Okay, guys, we're down to the 357 Magnum, which was a benchmark. Let's start that over. Hey, guys, we're down to the 357 Magnum. This is a 158 grain Hornady XTP. It's a reload, max velocity, 6.5 inch revolver. Back in the day, this was considered really good for game like deer. So let's go ahead and shoot target of opportunity here and compare it to the other two cartridges. And let's see what we can do. All right. kind of kind of hard to compare a 357 after you see the 460. Let's go take a look. Well, I didn't break a 2x4, but the can didn't like it. The hit was solid. Just not a bunch of hydrostatic. It has taken a lot of deer though. So it was a can of deer, it was a can, or the anyway. So there you have it, guys. Let's go back and take a look at the other cans. While we're looking at these cans, I want to kind of discuss with you handgun hunting in general. But you have to realize most stands and most shooting conditions that when you actually hunt is relatively hard. I'm on a perfect rest here. I got sandbags. I know I got all the time in the world. So when you train to handgun hunt, try to simulate the conditions that you are going to encounter and see how well you can group that particular gun at the distance that you want to engage your game animal. This is just kind of a rough comparison of velocity, bullet choice. Kind of give you an idea, the 460, of course, velocity is always your friend. It's a brute of a gun. As you can see, it had a lot of terminal effect on that can. This 44 Magnum also achieved better than what I thought it was going to do. 357 Magnum, this was the exit hole. So the XTP is designed for controlled expansion and deep penetration. So it did that. The energy transfer was about what I expected out of it. And also what you want to remember, back in the day, most deer were almost totally wiped out in the United States by 3840 lever guns, 4440 lever guns. They were black powder cartridges, which achieved very little velocity over 1,300 feet a second. So the modern cartridges are a lot more efficient. The bullet designs are a lot more efficient. So choose wisely, but also practice at the distance and in the shooting conditions that you might encounter in the field, and you'll have a good day.